What did you say again, Susan?
About 11.
Today? Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I'll be here.
Okay. Great. Here, I'm sorry, Nick.
What is that? That's over there. Hi, podium in Lander. That's okay. Just leave it like that. Leave it like that. Okay, today is our last day of class. It's Thursday, December 15th. And I want to remind you of a couple of things. I will hand out your final assignment for your final paper today. But first, before we talk about that, I want to conclude the unit we did on health and healing with a video, as I mentioned last time. The video will last about, I think it's about 40 minutes. No longer, might be 50. I'll make plenty of time for it. And then after the video, we can discuss it a little bit because you might want to discuss it. It's a pretty intense video. It's very positive in many ways, but it's also very intense. And what I really want you to do is to take away the positive aspect of what happened in this particular Indian town in Alaska, or this particular town in Alaska. Okay, it's about Craig, Alaska, and about an event that happened there that was very healing for the whole community, and it was done kind of unintentionally. So it's a very nice piece of work that I think gives us a lot of positive feedback about dealing with things that are difficult. Okay, secondly, I would like to have everything that you have left to do for me. I need to have it by Wednesday the 21st because I have to submit grades Thursday, okay? I will be in my office all week and all of next week during class. I think classes go through Wednesday, and I'll be here through Thursday for sure. So if you need to reach me, that's where I am. Let's see. Is there anything else I wanted to announce? My stomach's kind of funny today. I don't know if I'm getting the flu or what, but okay, so do you have any questions? No. Lander, you have any questions? Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
Right here.
Shelby.
When would we get our journals back?
You will get them back. I have a few more, but I forgot about that. I'm going to finish up during the film. So you should get them back today. If not, you can come by my office and pick them up this week or next week, okay? And anything else that you handed in that was hard copy, okay? All right, so.
Helsha?
Yes.
Are you going to pick up the journals in Lander?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay. Well, I would like to go ahead then and proceed with this video. I do hope you find it. I don't know. Maybe you find it a very compelling piece of work. I hope so. It's a pretty neat story. It tells you the story, and then the second part of it goes into people's response to this video around the world. That's how this particular event ended up, was actually being something that was shown around the world because of its of the results of doing what they did. So it's really gives you a lot of input, okay? So this is called Carved from the Heart. Okay, and it is a portrait of grief, healing, and community. Okay, so what do you think? Can I start it? Yeah? Yeah? All right. Press play, if I can see it anywhere. Here it is. And I will cut the lights. No, go bye-bye.
You need to flip that.
Oh, that's right.
Cha'adeye hanaiu. Yi tugate yau tukayi. Ya kagachtunik shkatnik. Hayat k'ijias aya.
My boy died about 3 years ago. He died of an overdose of cocaine. I had a pain in my heart that I don't know if I can explain it. A hurt, an ache, almost like a cramp. But there was also like an open wound, a cut, a stinging. And when I was laying down, there, no matter what position I turned, trying to ease the pain, it never went away.
It was about a month before my brother passed away. My sister called me and told me she was really worried about my brother, and she gave me this number to call because she really thought that we should talk to him. I didn't even try and talk to him because it was frustrating. He was so different. I put this vest on. I had tucked it into a vest pocket and put the vest on after he had passed away. And I pulled out the number. You know, I wrote down, you know, his name and call him, and I didn't ever get to talk to my brother.
And when he died, I found out that I couldn't take care of that pain by myself. No matter what I did, no matter what I took, the pain was there. I tried everything myself until I got contact with other people. Then I really thought how much we really need each other. So I thought of the totem pole. A friend of mine brought this up about a week after my boy died, but at that time I didn't feel like making a totem pole. It was about a year later, and I thought about it. This started out as a family thing, you know. I told my sisters that I'd make a memorial pole for my boy, and they said, yeah, that's fine, you know. And then when everybody found out what I was doing, everybody wanted to be involved. So I went to my sister again, told her that I'd like to include Craig in this, because everybody really wants to be involved in this. So she said, okay.
Craig is on Prince of Wales Island in southeast Alaska. It is a community of fishers, loggers, and people whose way of life is tied to the land and sea. About 400 of the 2,000 people are Tlingit, Haida, and Tsimshian. Even though Alaska Natives have lived here for countless generations, the Healing Heart totem pole was the first pole carved and raised in Craig in modern times. The pole became a community project, helping to heal not only the Marsden family, but healing the wounds that are passed from generation to generation in other families.
Stan had kind of gathered people around him. He went and told people, hey, you know, he'd be wandering around and doing his business and doing his errands, and he'd run into somebody and he'd say, I got that tree for my pole, I'm gonna be carving the pole. And then people would say, oh wow, what can I do to help? Stan at the very beginning invited everybody to be involved, and so everybody could come carve, anybody could come to the meetings, everything was open.
I'd like to talk about the totem poles that used to be out years ago. We have all kinds of totem poles. Some are for history making. We have totem poles that tell stories about the clan family. But I've never heard of a healing totem pole, but it's a good idea.
When I first found out that my dad was going to carve a totem pole in memory of my brother, I really hoped in my heart that he was going to go through with it. I also was glad, since we had my brother cremated, there was really no place that I could go where I could feel that represented my brother.
When I started the job, nobody showed up. I was really disappointed. Several times there, I was ready to quit it. I wondered why I ever started it. After a while, different people started drifting in. People never carved before coming in carving the pole. After a while, the momentum started picking up. Real. Everything started to snowball. I started to feel good.
Forgot your heartbreak too? Well, your boots work.
Why then we chopping it?
I thought it was a really good idea that my grandpa was carving the pole. He wanted me to be down there every day. And I was down there most of the time. That's probably the biggest thing that ever happened to this community. In a positive way. It means a lot.
I just met Stan. He told me about this project and he said, well, carve. And I said, I don't know how to carve. And he said, yes, you do. And I'd go away and I'd come back, said, okay, give me a big flat spot. He did, and I started carving.
I felt like I wanted to give something, you know, because I needed to. I've lived here pretty much my whole life, and for a lot of different reasons, I didn't get involved a lot in community stuff, you know, and a lot of it was my own low self-esteem or this or that or whatever, but just helping on this committee really brought that back home to me, you know, that I am a member of this community.
You don't care, huh?
Oh, it looks good there.
There. That is the beak.
Stan had made that leap of wanting his son's life and death to have meaning and to leave a legacy behind. And so that legacy was that this pole was going to stand. It was going to be a symbol for sobriety, for drug and alcohol-free living, that was going to be dedicated to all the youth so that no parent, no family would have to go through that heartbreak as Stan and his family did.
I wasn't very familiar with the young man, but I could relate a lot to what had happened. because I knew if I continued down the road that I was and drinking and drugging, I possibly would have ended up in the same place.
I think if Jimmy was around and if the pole was for someone else, he would have been as excited as a lot of us. I mean, people could take the pole for different reasons.
That's what that pole means to me today. I'm here to lift you up and to share your grief. That's what it means to me. As a family and as a healing pole, I've seen it help my son.
When I first started out, there was only 3 figures. There was the bear is the Simshian, one of the main clans, Simshian. Raven is my dad's clan. Killer Whale is my mother's clan. And the frog is my boy, which was our family tree. And there was about 14 feet I had to cut off, and I didn't want to do that, so I added this other figure. I didn't know what it was going to be. So I put the figure in there, and here's a person. And he just is what we used to call the uninvited guest. That box he was holding, I didn't know what was going to be there.
The next meeting we came to, Stan had something to say right away. And he said, you know, there was this blank spot on the pole. I wasn't sure what I was going to carve there. But now I know what I'm going to carve there. I'm going to carve a basket of roses. And then he said, and so what do you think if at the pole raising we give everybody a rose, and then they can go and take their rose and then they can lay it down on the totem pole in honor of somebody.
There are things that are really hush-hush. I don't know if it's just in the Native cultures or Native families, but there's a lot of things that just get swept under the carpet. One thing that was really confusing for me is violence. At periods of time, my dad could fly off the hook, and you just hope that the anger wasn't towards you. I was pretty young, but I watched the anger and the rage directed towards my mom, my sister, and my brother would comfort me. He used to hold me when I was so scared.
Mark, what am I going to take this home?
I don't know, I drink it.
I practiced my rage on the fields of Vietnam and in the villages, and no one said a word about it. I was one of 6 got blown up down by the riverbank. So they had to clear a path for the helicopter, the medevac. And the helicopter came in, and they could only take 5, and they made me walk out. You know, I was peppered up and down with shrapnel. I still carry shrapnel on my arm today. And I was real angry. 6 months from Vietnam, I was living in the bar. I'd draw out unemployment once a week. And my dad would come down to Alaska Bar. I'd always be passed out in the back or all messed up. When I was passed out, he'd stuff my unemployment check in my pocket. Tell the bartender that, you know, I left Willard's money on him. He says, just make sure he eats today, huh? I know he's going to drink it up anyway. That went on for years. Tried to commit suicide many times within the household. My son Willard Jr. Saved my life at 7 years old.
I just ran out the door crying. Just in a pair of briefs. No clothes, no shoes. I just ran and got help. Because that was my father. As a child, that something inside just said I couldn't allow it to happen. My heart was telling me I couldn't allow that to happen.
And when he came back up, I was just hanging there. And here was a little 7-year-old boy holding me up.
I could just feel the pain. It was like a raw energy. And I've experienced that pain myself.
We have coffee cans that have burning cedar chips and sage in it, and this will be used to cleanse and bless the pole and the carriers.
I pray that by putting up this totem pole, there'll be a lot of souls and hearts touched this day. And I pray that each and every one that has participated and has come a little ways to be here, I pray that you'll bless them with all your heart.
I've been sober for 5.5 years, and I'm a representative for the disabled vets. Some of our men, some of our comrades lost their legs, lost their arm, lost their lives. We never had the opportunity to grieve, to show pain, and we pass that on to our children. During the Healing Heart Pole, they gave a chance to put a rose down, and mine was for the Forgotten Warriors. And the Forgotten Warriors are the children of the veterans. I place my children today I placed many traumas on them. The beating of the wife when I was drinking. The words I said to my kids in hurting. Taking my son through the suicide. I took him to Craig to carry the pole to center himself.
Once we start moving, we're going to have blocking ahead of the pole, and we're going to have blocking behind the pole. And if it gets where people are starting to get tired, before you start getting tired, we need to know, we'll put the pole on blocking, and we'll have relief people move in and carry the pole. Are we ready? All right, let's lift. Walk slow, easy. Watch the guys with the blocking. All right, you lead men.
I was really, really upset at the world for the way things were turning out. If I was hurting, I had to have other people around me hurting, even my family. There was just so much pain and misery that the only solution I thought there was, while I was under the influence of drinking and drugging, was to end it. I didn't succeed at it. For some reason, they found myself waking up. I was very possessive. That was my wife, that was my child. So I was fighting to keep them. Today, I'm doing closure on the relationship and continuing life the way it should be. And part of that's what the pole was for, was to help heal those damaged emotions. sense of gratitude towards these people to invite me to carry their pole.
And this is part of the thing about Stan raising the totem pole. When our little baby died, he was only 2 days old, and that's really hard, you know, to lose a baby, and but to lose any child, and how do you remember that? And so I really understand Stan and his totem pole. Michael was born on the 23rd and died on the 25th, when that was the most unnatural, unexpected death. I mean, I went through my first year after he died like a zombie. I don't have a lot of memories of that year. Then the second year, my family fell apart because they couldn't fall apart when I was falling apart. I was sitting in my office in Craig one day, and I realized I felt different. And I realized I felt good.
How do you guys feel? Are you feeling all right? How about the people in the back? How's the lead men?
And so that Friday, before the pole raising, there was a lightning storm, which aren't unusual. It's not that we never have lightning storms, but they're not common. And the lightning struck where the pole was, waiting to be carried to its site. And then it also struck at the ball field, at the site of the sweat lodges. And telling people that, some of the elders, I think it was, they said that that's a blessing. That is a blessing and a cleansing to have lightning strike. Stan is a killer whale. You know, we see killer whales here yearly. But this was not the time that we normally see killer whales. One of our guests had gone out on the boat early the day of the pole raising and saw killer whales. Stan's initial reaction was, I had invited all my relatives and they have all come. A huge blessing and miracle of the whole pole raising was that the day of the pole raising, it was a sunny day. It had been storming for 2 weeks before the day of the pole raising, and it immediately started storming the day after the pole raising.
Where's the trees? How's that back there? I can't see. Need the lead men talking. Okay, how's it going? Okay, we need to come straight in. Come straight in. Come straight in.
To see the whole community come together like that, I've never seen this many people in Craig in one place. As open to communication with each other ever. Everybody being able to pick up a 4,000-pound log and carrying it 9 blocks, they ought to be able to do a lot more stuff in the community together.
that's what made this cool. Everybody working together. I'd like to thank all of you for being part of this.
The relationship that I've had with my dad hasn't always been the best. A lot of it was resentment. I mean, I loved him, but there was a time in my life that I didn't care if he lived or died. You know, I didn't really care about him at all. When I got clean and sober, I looked back and I figured out where my resentment came from, and so I let go of a lot of it. But carving the totem pole, it really made me proud of my father, my dad. When I placed the rose on the healing heart, I placed it on there not only for my brother, but I lost a lot of friends, and I placed it on there for them too. I really feel that I went through all I went through so I can be a positive example. I work really well with kids because I've never ever forgotten how alienated I felt.
I'd set down 2 roses. One was for my daughter, one was for her mother. I'm walking the road with my father. I'm neither behind him or in front of him. I'm right beside him, walking that red road of recovery. As an Alaska Native, alcoholism and drug addiction, like my father stated earlier, that it hasn't been with our ancestors. And when I do dress to dance, today I am not using. The dancing is to honor my grandmother, to show the respect that I do have today. And it's also for sobriety.
This is how our people were. We used to hold each other, put our blanket of love around you to help you through this grief time. The pole was holding them up and lifting them up and sharing them, strengthening them to walk through that grief, and it's still well today. Every time you go by it, you're going to think about one of your loved ones or someone that passed on, huh?
The pole, too, it's so beautiful. I feel like my brother would be so proud. It also is a way my dad could express his love, how he might not have shown his love as much as he could have. You can tell he carved it with his heart.
Coming up, see how the story that started in Craig, Alaska has impacted young people and adults, encouraging people to explore issues that are often swept under the carpet.
You don't realize how much one person makes a difference until you lose them.
There was a time in my life that I didn't know who I was. I'm talking about identity issues.
This isn't about race, it isn't about color, it isn't about killer whale, ego, anything. It's about all of us coming together as one to stop the drinking, the drugs, the abuse.
I can join in their healing a little. I did feel part of their healing, but I have to find my own too.
My brother recently realized he's an alcoholic. What it took to make him realize it was a wreck in the company truck, the loss of his job, his house, and the loss of his freedom for several months in jail, rehab programs, and daily AA meetings. But he'll regain his freedom from the shackles of alcohol. I told him about the healing heart totem. I wish he could see it. Even though he lives far away, it was for my family and for everyone else out there who's in pain.
This video made me think of some things that I forgot. I was wondering, how in the hell am I still alive? What happens after you leave? A life is a life. What happens when one is destroyed? This man's son found him dying. I found myself dying. I couldn't do anything about it. A few things in this video triggered my mind about how I turned my life around and who helped me.
A lot of young people use where I'm from, and they never really think about the consequences until it hits them to the core.
One of the fabulous parts of that whole thing was the fact that there was this space on the pole that he didn't know what to put, and he put in the uninvited guest.
The uninvited guest to me meant that it was them opening their arms for everybody. Everybody could show up, anybody could do anything they wanted to help out, showing that they care for everyone and not just themselves.
I always thought the uninvited guest was alcohol.
I always felt the uninvited guest was death.
My uninvited guests are fear and change and pain.
The uninvited guest is the loved one who left us too soon, the baby that was miscarried who we were never allowed to hold, the alcohol or drug use that we did not expect to visit and that we never expected would stay. In reality, we cannot cut these things off any more than Stan could cut off the extra 17 feet of his totem.
Uninvited guests in our lives are things that we have to deal with, and sometimes it's hard because we don't know what's going to happen, but when we turn them from uninvited to invited and realize that they are part of us and a part of that pole, you know, it becomes a totally different feeling.
The pain that I felt upon hearing my grandmother's loss was the same pain that I felt when I saw your film. It was an acknowledgement of things that go on in families, of grieving that never takes place at the family table. We talk about bills, we talk about going to school, but we never talk about hurt.
I had two of my buddies went to Vietnam and came home. They committed suicide. You know, it had its own way of showing its hurt and its love, and you could see it in there, and you could feel it, like I felt it. I was almost crying just to watch it.
That was incredibly powerful to me. The part where the son cuts down his father, and his father is hanging. I think some people have talked about their concern that, you know, does this video glorify suicide, or is it a problem to talk about suicide? And I think actually that this video is a very powerful example of the damage that a suicide attempt does.
I do not like to use the term unresolved grief. It seems to imply that grief has an ending point. I like to emphasize that grief is like a roller coaster that lessens in intensity over the years.
You can introduce this film as a way of channeling your emotions
grief and anger through the art of the totem pole. You know, that would be, man, fantastic if it wasn't a totem pole, some form of art that you can actually see something from what you're doing, aside knocking a hole in the wall or something, you know. I mean, but to channel, it's very important to learn ways to channel your anger, your grief, your emotions on a positive level.
I've heard a lot of multi-generational grief of how our ancestors, my grandma, personally my grandma and grandparents, gone to boarding schools, language taken away from them. If they expressed the language, they were punished. And as they grew up, they didn't want their children to go through that. And it's good to understand that part of the history. However, we hear a lot of that, this multi-generational grief. How about let's start with this multi-generational healing?
And who we are today is a lot different, I believe, than who we used to be. There are a lot of things that even the elders don't remember anymore. So I'm adopting a lot of ways from other tribes. And I found a lot from different people. Going to a sweat lodge, going to the Sundance, being part of a talking circle. These are ways that I heal.
I've watched this movie a few times, and I remember the first time I watched it, all I could feel was the pain. And then when I watched it again, I could see the strength and the healing. And then this last time I watched it, I could see the roses, and I could see the beauty and the healing. And it brought to mind the same as recovering from chemical dependency. In the beginning, you experience the pain. Eventually, if you ask for help, you get the strength. And then you begin to see the beauty in life.
This movie meant a lot to me. Made me realize that people care about me. It also made me think about basketball. Basketball brings people together.
Whenever I've been at a funeral, the moment that touches me the most is when 6 pallbearers lift up the casket and slowly walk out with it. I've never known why, but in this film I was so touched that the entire community were pallbearers. They had to lift and walk in unison. It said, "I'm here to carry your pall. I'm here to lift you up. I'm here to share your grief. I'm here."
A lot of the people here went through what Marston is going through and went through. And there's a lot of unresolved grief here, which is why we wanted to show the video. And a lot of people really liked it because of that.
It even touched the kids.
Mm-hmm. The high school kids.
Mm-hmm. And we're not done.
Mm-hmm. This is just the beginning. We want to do our own follow-up. We're thinking of either doing a canoe or a totem pole or a memorial park.
Passed on until you're gone, and some fortunate raven in the future, some niece, will be able to hold this staff as proudly as I hold our grandfather's staff. This has something to do with the guy from Craig named Jimmy Marston too, and this has to do with carved from the heart, okay? So here you go, buddy.
With my 3rd birthday tomorrow, life has never been better. Kids, you can have a lot of fun without drugs and alcohol. You don't need that. I've been having a blast.
And that's like the same with the community too, like Alaska. You know, it looks really pristine on the top,
But you get underneath, and there's still abusive families, like we saw in the movie. There's still drugs going on, you know, and it's like the same afflictions that afflict an inner city can afflict Alaska, you know. Any community, they all suffer from the same kind of things, just like people suffer from the same kind of things.
I think that was a nice way, I mean, you know, to like channel their grief into. Like they said, all the anger and everything that they felt that when they lost their loved ones, they put it all onto the carving that they made.
It's been our commitment to empower our people. We install those values of pride, self-esteem.
But then I think we very quickly identified too that we have got our own little totem poles around the community.
Yep.
Our murals are a type of totem pole, if you'd like. It's our way of healing. Our signs that are made from the young students around from our primary, maybe the next project will be more for the older residents. And no doubt we'll all get on our riding horses and someone will come along and just say, well, no, this is how it's going to be. And we'll turn around and think, gee, why didn't we think of that?
Seeing the film made me realise that, or made me feel that, yeah, this is really part of this post-colonial thing where Indigenous people are coming to inequality, and it's not about gaining more power than the white guy that did whatever to them. It's actually about just getting an equilibrium there and trying to find some sort of sense of balance in the ecology.
It's brought a lot of things that are bubbling, a lot of pain, because like I said, grief is individual and there's always a right time, and perhaps what we should be doing collectively is creating more times for people to do that sharing, whether you get them to do something constructive like building a totem where they're actioning their grief, and with every piece they cut off, they get letting go of things, or whether it's another way. This song, it's written by a Ngāti Wai Ngāpuhi. It's a person from the northern tribe here, and it talks about the blossoms of Ngāpuhi, the blooms of Ngāpuhi. Whakarongo mai I te reo e tangi nei, e ringi hia mai ana, whae aku kano ngaro e mata e, whiti mai te ranga.
Like Richard said on the film, you know, if people can get together and carry a 4,000-pound pole that far, that we can do anything. I thought that as soon as I quit drinking, all my problems would go away, and they don't. They multiply, you know, and I think, why does bad stuff happen to good people? It happens to everybody. It doesn't make any difference whether you're good or bad. And so I think this is a whole healing process for the island, and it's going to take a long while, and I think there's probably some more tragedies that are going to happen.
It just reaffirmed my belief that we have the answers, that we can help ourselves.
And that's what this totem experience was for me, was letting those things that we hide in boxes and that we put away, people for a moment, let them come out of those boxes, and we put them on the table, and we found that we all have them.
I am with you today because I felt the same way. Be strong of heart. We have all gone this road before.
Comments? Discussion? Do you see the point? And it can be different for everybody. The point can be a number of different things. I think for me in my role as a teacher of the subject matter, and someone who has lived in both worlds, the thing that is really important to me, if you take away anything from this video or from this class, it is that it takes all of us. It's no one person's responsibility to heal with the past, to heal individual things. The way it can work is if we all do it together. I had been to Craig, Alaska before, and that all these people, Indian and white, came together behind this was probably one of the most profound things I have ever experienced or seen in my life. And it's being done elsewhere. But we have to start at the beginning, whether we're dealing with issues of anger, of alcohol, of abuse, of whatever. We have to start at the beginning. And we have to see how we share in this together. And if you walk away with anything from this class, I hope it is more of a sense of community. We can talk about things that are difficult, and it's okay. These are things we need to talk about. We talked about a lot of things in this class. It made a lot of you very uncomfortable at first, but it's okay, because we need to go there. If we're going to make things better. I mentioned last time, I believe, that the only victim in all of this, if we want to say, okay, there's a lot of really horrible history to American history and Native Americans, and blah, blah, blah. We can go on about that. But what I want you to know is that every one of us is a victim of that, not just Indian people. We have all been traumatized in some way by the lack of education we've received, by the stereotypes that we learn about each other. This has injured us all. So it's not only this group has suffered. No, everyone has. That's why it's going to take everyone to heal. And I really hope that this class motivates you towards that. Was it a positive video? Shelby, it was? Yeah. Kind of sad, huh? It's powerful. Emotions are powerful. What do you guys think in Lander?
It's good. Real good.
Good. Good. I hope it is something that we can walk away with from this class, okay? Because it is ending the class on a positive note. It really is. We can do something about all this. It just takes us. Okay, I am going to hand out, I think Lander already has it. I am going to hand out your final paper, and we'll talk a little bit about it. If you have any questions, I want you to take this quite seriously. In other words, I want you to really think about what this is, what I'm asking you to do, and how this will benefit you as a person. Do we have enough? Did everybody get one? Cole, did you get one? One of the things we think about a lot is, you know, we see the past as history. We see the past as something that happened that we really don't have